Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we've got a video in our Collecting a Battalion series. And so before we get into the main video, let's have a chat about what this series is all about and what we are hoping to achieve with it. So to do so, I think it's best that we explain what a War Scroll Battalion is first of all. A War Scroll Battalion is a special formation comprised of various units that by taking will give you access to additional abilities for the units inside said War Scroll Battalion in-game. Why are we doing what we are doing? So, collecting a battalion can be a great way to collect to a theme. It gives you a goal to strive towards and an endpoint to reach. By doing so, you can get bonuses for playing with models that thematically go together and a chance potentially to try out models you might not otherwise take because they might not be optimal outside of the battalion. What's the plan with this series though? And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and build an army focusing around the battalion. We're going to thematically build upon the battalion if required. Some battalions don't make up a full 2,000 point army, so we're going to expand upon them thematically, and we will also give ourselves a framework to set an end goal within. So with that all out the way, let's get into the meat of this and we'll go into the video proper right now. So today we are going to look at a Cities of Sigmar battalion, namely the Charrwind Beasthunters. Before we do, we need to talk a little bit about Cities of Sigmar and how their battalions work. So, Cities of Sigmar is split into a number of different sub-factions of these 7 different great cities that are split up throughout the mortal realms. In particular, the ones we're looking at for Cities of Sigmar are all in Akshi and Gairan. And we'll get to which one we're in later when we start looking into that. But all their battalions are from particular cities, and that's because all the battalions require you to have units from a keyword bolded city. So, for instance, let's start looking at the organisation over here, and you can see we have 1 Anvilgard Black Ark Fleetmaster, 3 units of Anvilgard Black Ark Corsairs, 1 to 3 units of Anvilgard Scourge Runner Chariots, and 0 to 1 Anvilgard Charybdis. All those units must be Anvilgard units, so therefore we can only play this battalion inside the free city of Anvilgard. Now, this will also lock our realm because all the cities of Sigmar sub-factions lock you into realms, and Anvilgard is from the realm of Akshi, the realm of fire. So we will be locked into playing the realm of fire. Abilities wise, we're going to get add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by units from this battalion that target an enemy monster. So this list is going to be really great at targeting enemy monsters. Now, let's talk a little bit about that because that's going to influence how we build the army both thematically and to a, I guess, less competitive standpoint as well. I mean, we don't want these armies just to not be good on the table, so we're going to think about how we build it and how we take advantage of the units within it and also build to our theme. So, our theme quite clearly here, and sort of with the overarching theme of Anvilgard as a whole, is very much Dark Elf focused. Their allegiance ability is known as the illicit dealings, and you get one of these. You get to sort of pick from these bunch of different things, like black market bounties and hidden agents and a whole bunch of different things that you can choose to take, and they give you certain abilities. For the primary one that we're taking, and we'll get into why I'm saying primary a little bit later, but we're going to take Black Market Bounty, and this will give us an extra artifact to choose from. So, looking into this, a lot of the units in this battalion aren't particularly strong in a fight against monsters, so we're going to need to sort of figure out how we can fix that. However, we do have Scourge Runner Chariots, and they are incredibly powerful units. They are really well costed and they can do quite a bit of damage, so we're definitely going to make full use of that. The only taxes we have here are we must take a Fleetmaster, we must have 3 units of Corsairs, and we must have 1 unit of Scourge Runner Chariots. So they're the only requirements, but we're going to max it out because that's what we try to do on all of these videos. So what's good about this is we can take the Anvilgard Black Ark Fleetmaster, we can make him our general. That will make everything in the battalion battle line, which means all our battle line is sorted, and it doesn't really matter because most of our army is going to be battle line anyway. It just so happens that's how it works with Cities of Sigmar. So let's start jumping over and looking at the list and thinking of all those things I've said, like we've got benefits against monsters, so let's push into that. We're a Dark Elf focused city, so let's really focus on that as well. And so I've taken all Dark Elf units. There is nothing that's not a Dark Elf inside the city. So if you're a big fan of the old Dark Elves from Warhammer Fantasy, then this list might appeal to you. So for leaders, obviously, we've got our Everguard Black Ark Fleetmaster. He's going to be our general. He's going to take a command trait known as Black Fang Crime Lord. And what this does is gives us another illicit dealing, and we're going to take the Hidden Agents. This will give us a bonus D3 command points to start off the game with, which obviously we've already got a battalion in the army. We know that because that's the whole idea of this series, is building around a battalion. So we're going to have 2 command points straight off the bat. This is really good because it can help us survive alpha strikes. We can potentially sacrifice units and not have them break and hold the enemy up. And yeah, it'll just gives us some options to play with. And we're also going to give him the artifact Ruby Ring. Now this one here, like the artifacts, really, they're all up to you on choosing. I think there's only really Ruby Ring's just something cool, and for me it's a bit of my own personal narrative in that, but we won't go into that. But you can really pick any sort of artifact to throw on one of the other characters. The other 2 are much more useful. So we're then also going to take 2 sorceresses. Both are going to have the Vitriolic Spray spell. Now, once again, why am I doubling up on the same spell? Now, you might seem like a waste. However, in a more competitive environment, people are going to pick off your heroes pretty easy. I mean, sorceresses have only got 6 up save, and sure, they're -1 to hit, but they're not our general, so they don't have the parry sort of thing, and we'd be wasting the Drake Scale Cloak on one of them because it wouldn't make them that much more survivable anyway. But so we've got 2 lots of Vitriolic Spray, and the main reason for this is just a bit of redundancy within the list. This allows us to lose one of the sorceresses and still have access to that extremely powerful spell. For those who don't know what Vitriolic Spray is the spell that everyone talks about when they talk of Cities of Sigmar and that powerful spell. It's the one that removes an armor save. Now, this only has a 6-inch range, so we are going to need to do some stuff to make this range longer, and there's a reason why we also have 2 sorceresses. So the reason why we have the 2 sorceresses is because we are going to need to cast Umbral Spell Portal out of one of them. So one of them will be casting Umbral Spell Portal, and the other one will be casting Vitriolic Spray through the portal. This covers the negative effects that we only have a 6-inch range for Vitriolic Spray, but this can come at a cost. Like, it also means that sorceresses need to stick together. It means we're not getting off things like Word of Pain, which is a really great spell, a -1 to hit spell, which is their War Scroll spell. But I think it's sort of covered well. Now, if one of them should die, we've got the General's Adjutant there who's going to be paired with the Fleetmaster. Now, we've given her the artifact Thermal Rider Cloak. So Thermal Rider Cloak gives her fly and adds 4-inch to her movement. That puts her up to movement 10 and fly. So this actually is really good because it can surprise an opponent that you can move this character that much. It also means that, like, you can threaten with Vitriolic Spray really, really well. You can move her up with your battle line, and you can keep her around things and just threaten. Not necessarily that she's probably going to die to whatever she threatens, but you can use her as a throw-out airpiece and go, you've got to kill me and deal with me, or I'm going to cast Vitriolic Spray on you and you're going to be in trouble. So it's a good piece to have, and some good options, especially late game. If like your opponent's got 1 unit they need to survive, you can threaten with like this sorceress with the Thermal Rider Cloak and go, cool, you've got to deal with me. So you can, and you can hold up your opponent with her because they have to deal with her, because if they don't, she's going to put Vitriolic Spray on their like big unit in the end of the game, and you could probably take it off. Now, we're going to go into our last hero here, and so we needed a bit of a hammer in this army, and so I thought, well, why not let's put in the Dreadlord on Black Dragon. He's a fantastic monster, has some really great attacking power, and if you give him like some reroll ones to hit, he really does start doing some work. We've given him Jutting Bones, which is Drakeblood Curse, which we're going to get 2 of because we've got a battalion in the army, which is really fun because this will allow him to do some mortal wounds and impact, which means he might be able to clear some screens that are in his way. I'm also going to give him the Drakescale Cloak artifact. Now, the Dreadlord on Black Dragon already has a 3-up save, so he's fairly survivable, but this also gives him a 5-up save against both wounds and mortal wounds. I think this is better then taking Ignac's Scales, which while is a 4-up, it's only against mortal wounds. However, you probably could choose either or. This is really up to you, but I think the Drakescale Cloak is just a little bit better. For battle line, we've gone for a unit of 20 Blackheart Corsairs and 2 units of 10. The unit of 20 will be an Honoured Retinue. Now, why we've gone for the unit of 20 as the Honoured Retinue is because that Fleet Master is really important to just handing out some buffs and some rerolls to the army in general. He can also potentially add some attacks, which means this unit of 20 around him can actually go to quite a significant amount of attacks because he adds +1 attack to every weapon on the unit, which means Corsairs have 2 different weapon profiles, meaning if we've given these the dual weapons in combat, they're going to have 4 attacks each. You can pair this with Vitriolic Spray and they are going to remove a lot of units off the table if they have Vitriolic Spray. Then just gone the other 2 just to fill out the battalion because we don't really need anything else after that. But then we've also picked 3 units of 3 Scourge Runner Chariots. Now Scourge Runner Chariots are just simply fantastic. They're going to be hitting on 3s and the champion will hit on a 2. So they're pretty reliable to hit. Now they're also going to get +1 a wound, which means they're going to be 2-ups to wound. That is fantastic. These things should kill most monsters in a turn. You can put them up against most monsters in the game and just watch them go and do some work. They will take off most monsters, which is really great because the one thing this army needs to deal with quickly is your opponent's big heavy hitters. This army will pick apart chaff like there's no tomorrow. They've got so much small arm shooting that they're just going to pick off chaff units. If you can pick out the big pieces and take out some characters early with this army, you're going to have a good day. For the last battle line unit in the army though, I've decided to go for a unit of 30 Dark Shards. So I've gone for one big unit and this will pretty much hang out around the sorceresses, and Dark Shards are actually surprisingly good. They do pack out a lot of firepower, but not just that, late game as well, this unit can be really great because they can run and shoot thanks to the sorceress's command ability. Something not really looked at much is the fact she has command abilities and she can allow these guys to run and shoot. So they've got a 16-inch range, a 6-inch move, and then potentially a 6-inch run. So they've got 6, 12 plus 16. They've actually got a 28-inch threat range, which is really great. And they've got some serious firepower. If you've combined this well with, say, Umbral Spell Portal, Vitriolic Spray combo, like you can really threaten some units hard in your turn, and units that your opponent might think are completely safe. Things like this as well, like it's worth noting that this is a Cities of Sigmar list, and we're not taking the the Soul Scream Bridge. So the reason why I don't think we need to take it is because we've got the Scourge Runner Chariots who are fast, we've got the Dreadlord on Black Dragon, we've got enough command points to allow our units to run, and because we're elves, we've got a 6-inch base move. This means a lot of our units can run when we use command points 12-inch, and also these Dark Shards here, like because they have a 12-inch. And then a threat range on top, like because they're shooting on top of that. You could potentially swap this out for a unit of Dread Spears or Bleak Swords as well, because they can run and charge. That's good in its own right, but it does require you to get into a fight, but it's still nothing to be shirked at and is definitely a viable option. So for Behemoths, we've chosen to take a Charybdis, and honestly, they're not particularly great. This Charybdis though can do one thing for us, and when you take the Fell Gaze Drakeblood's Curse, you can add -2 bravery to a model that's already got a -1 bravery debuff. So this means this Charybdis is actually packing out -3 to bravery. You can bring a really strong unit in some clutch situations. If you can isolate units and then just charge the Charybdis in, he doesn't need to actually do all that much to make your opponent fail battle shock tests. We've got 30 points spare. We really don't need command points. We probably don't need anything from the triumphs, but you certainly could just go for a triumph if you really want to. However, we've chosen to take the Quicksilver Swords. This is some serious mortal wound potential that we just maybe lack in a shooting capacity within the army. I think this is a solid choice to take within the force and just a nice bit of toolbox to have in the army. But all in all, that's the list. And so I'd like to know what you think of the list. And leave some comments down below on it on how you think. Scourge Privateers are a massive favourite of mine in Cities of Sigmar and just in Warhammer in general. I love them. I've got 2,000 points sitting up there that I took to CanCon a couple of years ago. But I'll be really interested to see what you guys all come up with in that regard, so leave that in the comments down below. Well, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any thoughts, comments, etc. on the video, please leave them in the comments down below. Also, special thank you to everyone who supports the channel on Patreon. You allow us to keep doing what we're doing and are allowing us to produce more and more content and work towards the future for Sinful Gaming. Thank you very much to Sinful Guard Militia Christian Weir and Philip Ward, and the Sinful Free Guild Regiment member James. You guys are amazing and you keep the channel going. But that's it for today from the video, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. We'll see you all again real soon.